Hello, 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 and welcome everybody to my channel. This is Lisa, Job Coach Germany, and I'm so happy and lucky that you guys are here. Welcome to my 30th career coaching drop-in session. Wow! And for everybody that's following me here on Instagram, you can see that I chose a specific filter for this session today. So yeah, a warm welcome from my side, and I hope you guys have had a wonderful start into the new week, and that you've enjoyed the morning of your hump day, because obviously we're already approaching and starting to head towards the end of the week. And with that being said, I just wanted to remind you all that I'm offering a masterclass on how to get invited to a job interview tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'm sitting in Germany. That's why it's our summertime. And if you haven't had the chance to sign up for the masterclass yet, feel free to click the link in my bio and sign up for the class. And I am very much looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow and really work on all of the different aspects that are important for you in order to actually get invited to the job interview. And that's what we all want, right? And that's why you're here. That's why most of you people are listening to me. And I'm very, very grateful for everybody that tunes in here, that watches the videos. And I'm very happy and grateful if any of you can just simply take one or two hints and that help you actually land your dream job here in Germany. But what actually happens next? So what happens if you get invited to a job interview? Have you thought about that yet? Because that's actually the point when most people get really nervous and excited, and it's a mixture of different feelings that arise once you get the invite for your job interview. And I can totally understand that at some point you feel overwhelmed and kind of panicky. And let's dive more into this topic of the job interview. And one really important aspect of the job interview is the small talk at the beginning of this job interview. So probably maybe just clarify that some of you have maybe heard the terms of job interviews in German. So we call it either Bewerbungsgespräch or Vorstellungsgespräch. Yeah, so Bewerbungsgespräch, kind of like an application talk, and Vorstellungsgespräch, it's kind of like an introduction talk. So basically it's all about you introducing yourself to the company and vice versa. Yeah, so the company is supposed to introduce themselves to you as well. And obviously small talk is a part of our life, and it's also important when it comes to jobs. And a lot of people, so if you are like a lot of people, most of the people, you find small talk really awkward and nerve-wracking, because it doesn't really make any sense to have small talk. You don't go deeper into a topic that might be of interest to you. It's more like what we call in German Geplänkel. So we are just talking on a very high level, and it's really not making a point. However, if you stick with me, I'll show you that it's actually really important to nail the skill of being able to have small talk for your job interview, because it is at the beginning of your interview, and it'll show you will give the interviewer a first impression about your personality. And this is the time when the interviewer or the HR person or whoever is interviewing you for that particular job finds out whether this person likes you or not. And this can be this decision can be made within seconds. Okay, so preparing for a job interview is already nerve-wracking in itself. So why should we talk about small talk? Yeah, and well, normally when we're talking about small talk, we're talking about topics that are normally not related to your educational background or to the job opening in itself or your work experience. That is something that will be discussed in the job interview a little bit later on. However, not in the small talk. So the small talk actually is not so much about the topic in itself that is important, but we will dive a little bit more into this topic later on. But it's actually more for the interviewer to get a feeling of how you can talk and how communicative you are. And it's important because the interviewer is evaluating you while you are talking. Yeah. So the interviewer is deciding whether he or she likes you or not. So, and when do we use small talk? Well, obviously in everyday conversation. And that's why, because we can use it in everyday situations, like with our neighbors, with our colleagues, with the person from the baker shop, and so on. That's why it is normally very spontaneous, it's random, and you should normally be really relaxed, and it has a colloquial tone, right? And that's why there are no really formal rules. However, there are some tweaks and tricks that you can follow along in order to make your small talk, especially in your job interview, successful. So it's really important that this small talk is in a relaxed atmosphere. It's a casual atmosphere, yeah? And that's what one of the big pitfalls actually is. If you are stressing out so much about a job interview and the actual small talk, who starts, who's going to say the first thing, and so on, that's when the recruiter finds out, okay, you're stressed out, you're not really relaxed, and this is not a really good head start. Okay, so try to be yourself, try to be positive, and try to be relaxed and bring across this atmosphere. Okay, and normally, and let me tell you this, normally the interviewer starts with the small talk as well. However, you want to stay in their mind, right? You want to make a good impression, so you should prepare this part of the small talk in advance. And because there are no formal rules, and because of the fact that we are very spontaneous and random and in a relaxed situation, small talk can be used universally, right? It's used almost in every culture, however, in different aspects. And when I was researching this topic in more detail for today's career coaching drop-in session, I actually came across really interesting differences between the English-speaking world and the German-speaking world when it comes to small talk. But we will dive into that in a couple of seconds. So when to use small talk? When is it important for you to use small talk? Not only in your job interview, but also so in universal situations, such like you're having a small talk with your colleague, or you're having a chat at the party, or you have a little conversation with a person in an elevator, even though there have been studies that have shown that people tend to be very quiet in elevators. And but for example, if you're commuting by train and then you want to have a conversation with a person that is commuting with you as well, so you can have a small talk on the train. And apart from the job interview, what follows next, once you get your work contract, obviously you need to be introduced to the team. And so on the first day of your new job, small talk is really vital. It's crucial that you nail this here, because this is when you bond with people, right? And for example, when you are job hunting and you go to a careers fair, for example, then when you're visiting a trade or a careers fair or a congress, small talk is the way to go. Small talk is really, really important for you to do in these situations, okay? Or for example, if you're working with a lot of customers, then with customers, when meeting customers, it's important to have small talk. So, and what is considered a great conversation? Well, a great conversation is nowadays related to a great story. So what you need to think about is storytelling. However, you don't want to be talking about yourself too much, right? You want to address the person and try to find, like, build a bridge to this person that you're talking to, that you're talking with, right? So you kind of want to try to reveal a little bit about yourself, create a good mood, maybe have some fun and show some humor, and maybe laugh at yourself, or have the other person laugh with you as well. And then what is the effect? And that's why we're doing this small talk, and that's why this small talk is so important, is because that's when you gain trust and sympathy. And that's what you want to achieve, right? So that's what you want to achieve in your small talk and within the interview. So all of the other questions that are being asked about your educational background, about your work experience, your skills, and so on, they are very important as well. However, they don't form the base of your conversation. The base of your conversation is your small talk with the interviewer, right? So a basic requirement for a successful conversation and for perfect small talk is, and you need to keep this in mind, to have a sincere interest in the person that you're talking to. So you need to have real sympathy and respect for that person. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense if you're just playing a role. Obviously, when you go out there and you go to a job interview, many people always try to sell themselves and try to sell the best side of themselves, right? And that's what the company is doing as well. They are trying to sell their best side as well. And because obviously, as I said many times before, and I cannot stress this fact enough, it's basically when you're invited to a job interview, you need to think about it in that way. The company is great and they think they are great, you are great, let's be great together. Yeah, so, and obviously you have an interest in this job, you have an interest in that company. So you need to find certain aspects that you feel that you can build this bridge with the interviewer. And obviously it's always great if you already know who is interviewing you. However, just be open-minded, because you never know. Sometimes you get the invite for the job interview and you also have the list of attendees. Sometimes you don't. So you need to be very open-minded in this situation. It's a very new situation, it's a stressful situation, and recruiters and interviewers know that. However, be open and just get inspired from the situation that you're in. So let's take a look at some pitfalls or reasons for boring small talk. So boring small talks happen when you are only talking about yourself and you monologuize. Yeah, nobody wants to listen to monologues all the time, and they don't want to listen to you all the time. You maybe have chosen an uninteresting topic, and that's possible as well. Or maybe the other person is not understanding you because you made a joke and nobody understands the joke. That would be really weird. Also, something that you need to avoid, please avoid being a know-it-all. Some of you are, I know personalities are different and we're all unique, and that's brilliant and that's wonderful. However, in this situation, you don't want to show off this personal trait of being a know-it-all, okay? Because this can come across a little bit aggressive. It can come across with a little negative touch, okay? So the small talk is all about forming a positive foundation for your conversation that is ahead of you, okay? And if you put a little thought into it, and if you prepare for that in advance, then you can be relaxed in that situation. And then you know already, okay, so small talk, that is something that I have practiced, and I will show you some ways how you can practice that. So the small talk is something that I've practiced and I'm quite good at, I think. So I should be comfortable. As long as I'm myself, it should be all right. And then you don't have to worry about that anymore, because obviously this small talk gives you time to adjust to this new situation, to this stressful situation as well. So this small talk can help you calm down a little bit from this sudden rush of adrenaline that you get when you are in a job interview. So there are specific topics that you should not address. A mistake that you can make is not choosing the topic that you would like to talk about in advance. And small talk should not provide any frightening insights, but should rather be fun and relaxed. Yeah. So anything related to death, sex, illness, politics, money, religion, and rumors, these are taboos. You don't want to talk about this, okay? Or any combination of these. That's not good. So a great start for you would be to think in advance which topics you would like to address, yeah, during the small talk. And we will go a little bit into detail what kind of topics you can talk about in a little bit. So also, something that you need to avoid is offending the recruiter. Yes, some people think it's very funny to make a joke on the cost of the person that you're talking with. This is something that sometimes only works with people that you know, but even then you should be very careful because it can just come across very negative. And also a big no-go is flirting with your recruiter, okay? So you don't want to come across like being the flirty person, and that's why you got this job, okay? So let's take a look at how to be likable during a small talk. So there are certain aspects that you need to take into account and that you can consider when having a small talk, especially in a job interview. Be polite, be positive and open, enthusiastic. Yeah. So don't, especially in Germany, it's really important that you don't start complaining, because obviously some of you people have heard Germans love to complain. We are experts when it comes to complaining. We even know how to, like, we are addressing complaints in written manners as well. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so no complaining. And keep your answers short, make eye contact, and no phone. Yeah, don't involve your phone. Just put it on silent or even turn your phone off before you go into the room where you're having this job interview. Then use your facial expressions, which basically means smile, nod, and also you can think about making compliments, but again, choose them wisely and everything that you can relate with, okay? So everything that you feel comfortable with. And okay, so let me just have a look. Okay, so and yeah, you should just still keep your distance, so which basically means we are semi-friendly, so semi-personal, okay? So you still should not think about this like it's your best buddy and you want to talk to this person, yeah? And of course, use the pauses in between. Use the pauses. Sometimes pauses feel real or can feel really disturbing and nerve-wracking again. However, these pauses are really natural and nobody's going to complain about them. A pause is really, really acceptable in job interviews as well. Yeah, you can just catch your breath, count in your head 2, 3, and then go on with another question, for example. So, as I said before, typically the interviewer starts with the small talk, yeah, and it has a psychological effect because obviously the interviewer has invited you to be the guest there. And that's why this person should always start the conversation. So let me just put you in this setting right now. So you have arrived at the company and you are about to enter the room where you're having this job interview. So you basically, the person opens the door, whoever is interviewing you, and sometimes there are 3 people sitting there, sometimes there are 2, maybe there's just 1 person interviewing you, but it can also add up to 5 or 6 people interviewing you, depending on the position that you're applying with and depending on the setup. Where, for example, with an assessment center, it's very typical that there are more people. And but I would always think about 3 people, yeah? So in Germany, that is very typical, especially if you're applying for a role for a permanent position. Then we have the HR person, we have the person from the technical field, so your area of expertise, and we have a person from the workers' council. Yeah, so these three people are typically involved in this situation. Sometimes these interviews are split, and then you would normally have the HR interview first, and then you go on once you have passed this job interview stage, and then you go on with the technical stuff. So, and the recruiter opens the door and says hello. So if the recruiter hands you the hand, then you can shake the hand. However, if the recruiter or the person in the room doesn't offer you their hand because obviously maybe you've heard that the Germans love shaking hands, right? So if the person is not offering you their hand to shake hands, then you don't go for it, okay? You are just the observer in this situation in the very beginning, okay? So you don't have to shake hands. And especially now with the pandemic going on, we are obviously very, very cautious who we are shaking hands with. And shaking hands has somehow lost its interest. Or basically, we Germans have lost our interest in shaking hands because obviously we don't want to pass on any germs and so on. So you don't have to think about that anymore. However, you make a step into the room and then you wait what the recruiters are saying. Okay, so door opens, you make a step inside, you can say hello, but you wait there. You wait until somebody seats you. You wait until somebody says you can sit here, or somebody stands up and reaches the hand. So, and then you go along with that. Okay, so you can be very relaxed in this situation because they are making the first move. And that's why they are also in the lead of the small talk in the very beginning. Okay, so normally they would ask something like, how are you today? And they will also so they want to give you the feeling of being welcome, and they want to give you the feeling that you can feel relaxed there. And that's why they start with the small talk normally. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that too much. However, in certain situations, it might be your first test of them trying to find out, okay, is this person starting a conversation or not? Yeah. So, and for this, you should always keep in mind that you have a topic available that you would like to talk about. So then a very, very typical thing, and that is something that really surprised me when I was researching this topic, especially when comparing it to the English-speaking world, is when the interviewer is asking about beverage. So the interviewer asks, may I get you something to drink? Yeah, or would you like to have a coffee? Would you like to have a water? Would you like to have a juice or something like that? So me, myself, I have worked in HR for many years. And what I would do before the job interview, I would already set aside coffee or tea, water, sparkly, non-sparkly, and also juice. Okay, so obviously it also always depends on the size of the company and what they have allocated for investments in all of these treats. Sometimes you also have little biscuits and so on, but they are just there. Obviously, you're talking the entire time. If you're eating at the same time, how are you supposed to talk without getting your crumbles everywhere? So here is the difference. I read, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or if this what I read is wrong. However, but in the American way of applying in the American job interviews, you should always say no to a beverage, because it would make the recruiter or the person that is interviewing get up and get the drinks, for example. Yeah, so in the American way or in the English-speaking world, it's not typical to accept the drink. So here is what is really important for you guys to know, especially if you're applying with a German employer in Germany. Drinks will help you. Yeah, so, and you need to try to avoid saying no, especially in the very first couple of minutes. Okay, in the first couple of 5 to 10 minutes, try to avoid saying no and try to get the recruiter to say yes at least 3 times. Okay, so this is something that is also from a psychological perspective, really important when you go into a negotiation for your salary, for example. Yeah, try to get the other person to say yes 3 times. And that's what is really important. We want to have a positive foundation for our conversation. So no is a negation, it's negative. And that's why, well, in this situation, it's negative. No, in general, is not a negative thing. And we all need to keep our boundaries. However, in this situation, for your small talk, and if the recruiter in Germany is asking you whether you would like to have a drink, don't ever say no, even if you don't want to have a drink. Just accept the drink. Here, let me give you another little hint. Don't go for coffee, because obviously you already have a lot of adrenaline rush inside of you. You don't need the extra caffeine in you. So go for water, or go for anything that you would like to drink, whether it's a cup of tea, or whether it's just a juice or something like that. Yeah, so I would always go for non-sparkling water, because obviously then I don't have to burp, and then I cannot, even if I spill some water on myself, it doesn't make a stain. Yeah, so that's what I go for all the time. And water is something that normally everybody has there. And recruiters in Germany are normally prepared for that, and they will always have the drinks ready. They don't go outside of the office typically to get you a drink, okay? So that's why, so always keep that in mind. And why is this drink so helpful for the ongoing conversation later on is because you can then take a sip whenever you want to take a little break, want to pause for a second, and just think about what you're going to answer. So you take a sip, count to 3 in your head, think about what you want to say, you can drink, and then you go on with your answer. Okay, so this drink is not only important in the beginning for you saying yes and making a positive impression, however, it's also important for the ongoing conversation later on. Then another typical thing that interviewers might ask is about the directions and the commute. Did you have any trouble finding us here? Did you have any trouble finding our office? And then also what is very, very typical is asking about the weather. Yeah, so I have studied, lived, and worked in the UK for quite some time, which is why I'm such a huge fan of the United Kingdom. And obviously, everybody was always obsessed with asking and talking about the weather. And here again, just keep in mind, in Germany, the weather is strange at some points. Yeah, so right now we have always a mixture between sun and warmth and rain and cold. So just go with the flow. Yeah, and here you can just agree with what the interviewer is saying. Isn't the weather great that we're having right now, or isn't the weather terrible that we're having right now? So you just go along with the flow. Okay, then something that is really important, and now you need to sharpen your ears. It's basically when it comes to weekend plans and hobbies. So maybe they will ask in the beginning, so did you have a nice weekend? Did you rest? And so on. And then you can go on a little bit. Yeah, just don't go into a monologue of what you've been doing exactly at what time on the weekend. And then something that is also really, really interesting is sports. You know, Germans are a huge fan of sports, and I'm not such a huge fan of sports. However, the Germans are, and you need to find out in advance, or if the company that you want to work with is a member or a supporter of a certain sports team. Yeah, so when I started working with one large company, they were they were granting a lot of money to one of the football clubs in Germany, one of the big football clubs in Germany. And this also depends on which city you're going to live in, which country, which company you're working for, and whether this company is supporting any of the clubs or so, because it could actually mean that they're asking, well, did you see the game last night, and so on. And this is a really, really good conversation starter. Okay, so, and now this question about the weather is the most common question that is out there, probably. And now Don't you think that's quite lame? So think about it in that way. You would like to make an impression as an applicant. So you don't want to be the person that's just talking about the weather, but you want to make an impression. Okay, you want to stand out, and that's the next level. So basically think about ask about maybe the picture that you see on the desk, or you see a picture of a cat. Maybe you say, oh, I love your kitty, I have one too, what's its name, and so on. And then you can see you're already building this bridge, you're already bonding with this person. Or maybe you find a certificate of a school where this person went to, and maybe you know someone who has studied there, and you could talk about that. Or maybe you have studied there, and then you can talk about that. So another next level would be finding out who the people are that are interviewing you, and do some researching in advance. Okay, so do some research on LinkedIn, or maybe you find them on Facebook and so on. And I know that some people think that is this is way too much effort to put in that, and that's way too much privacy that I'm trying to figure out there. However, for certain areas and certain industries, especially when you're going, for example, in consulting, you need to find that out. Okay, this is the step that you need to take. And here, last but not least, there actually is so much more that I would love to tell you. So I would first of all like to share a beautiful book with you guys that I highly recommend for you to read, and it will definitely help you with any sort of conversation that we will ever have in your life. Okay, so it's by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is what gives you an idea of what kind of questions you can ask during a job interview for your small talk to really find that bond, whether that is about the picture that you see on the desk, like here, my family, right? Or whether that is any of the books that you see in the background, or maybe it's flowers that you see and that you like, something like that. Okay, so something that is related to this office setting that you can talk about, because this is when the interviewer feels, oh, this person is actually really attentive. And yeah, I like that. I like talking about that, because obviously these are the things in my office, and I love talking about things in my office. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Okay. And for everybody out there that is obviously moving to a new country, moving to a new city, moving to Germany, and you were wanting to find your dream job here, then it's really a great start, or a great conversation starter, to talk about the city. Yeah, because obviously the recruiter is in that city as well. So you have a relatable topic. So you could ask, what fun activities are here to do? Yeah, what would you recommend me to do here? So, and now you can practice that. You can practice small talk, okay, without going into the job interview situation right away. You can practice the small talk with your bakery. Yeah, so when you're going to the bakery and don't just ask how are you doing, but start a little conversation with your hairdresser. You could do that with a colleague that you have right now, or even with your neighbors. So use these personal meetings to really practice your small talk skills. Okay, so, and if you have considered all of the aspects that I've told you, and have just gone through a little bit of research about the company again, then you should be all set for the small talk within the company. So best of luck to you, and best of luck in your next interview. And if you need help with a job interview and with the preparation for that, feel free to book a free consultation with me that you can book through my website. And also feel free to sign up for my newsletter that I send out every week on a Friday, because it always includes more important and interesting facts about the German labor market, and especially about the job hunting process in Germany. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I wish you a wonderful week. And yeah, maybe I'll see some of you guys tomorrow. Thank you, and bye-bye.